Hey guys, what's up? I am coming on here so we can do the first official book of my year of Danielle Steele, the year of 2020 Danielle Steele. The first book I decided to read was Danielle Steele Going Home. This is one of my favorite books of all time. I love this book with my whole heart and soul. You cannot get a Kindle version of it. I searched Amazon and it does not exist. You can purchase the book though. I would suggest, if you like Danielle Steele, please go back and read her very first book, Going Home. This is one of the best books of all time. It is my favorite book. I love it with my whole heart. Greg bought me this version a couple years ago, like 2015 or 16, but I haven't read it. I have not read this book since I was a teenager in high school. So we're going back like 26 years, something like that. But this book is amazing. Hey guys, what's up? I am going to start reading this Danielle Steele Going Home book. This is the very first book that I ever read of hers. I have not started it yet. I'm going to start it. I'm going to take you along on this journey. This year is going to be so long. 2020 is my year of reading all Danielle Steele books that I have and collect through this whole year. There's a lot. I'm hoping I don't regret this decision. I don't. I did go on Goodreads because I've already read this book, so I have a pretty decent, I think, remembrance of this book, but I'm not sure. But somebody said they read it in high school, which is what I did, and they loved it. It was their favorite book, and then they reread it and they were like, WTF. So I'm hoping that doesn't happen, but we'll see. It is not 2020 yet, but I figured it's Christmas Eve. Why not get started on this Danielle Steele thing? Because I'm going to read these books, and I've got some other books I'm going to throw in the middle, but I'm going to go through all my Danielle Steele books in 2020. Lord help me. I'm going to try to go through this video as quickly as I can because I was starting to do the video and it was really long and it was winded and my camera shut down and I had to reformat my card and I lost all my footage. Lovely. Okay. I read the book. I love the book. I was wondering if I would love it, if I would go back to it and feel the same feels. Okay guys, so I'm not far into this book. I am 7 pages in, but I was really concerned, and I want to bring this up because I know I mentioned it in my Danielle Steele Country review that she was not descriptive, and I'm just like, what is wrong with me? Why did I read these books? You know what? This book right here explains to me why I read Danielle Steele. I'm only 7 pages in, but she's descriptive and she's just much better than her current books, in my opinion. But I'm going to be reading all of her books in 2020, so I'll be able to tell. But honestly, I mean, I really feel like Danielle Steele wrote this book, Going Home, her first book, and she's not right. There's no way she's writing the current books. They're just using her name. That's how I feel. That's how I feel strongly about that. But I wanted to say I kind of like remember now why I liked Danielle Steele. She's not as bad as I was thinking based on her more recent books. Because this book made me laugh and cry, like tears streaming down my face when I was a teenager. And I'm like, will it have the same effect? And it did. It did. I'm such a baby. There's not a whole lot of books that can do that to me, but this book does. It hits your heart. So I'm gonna say a couple things. I took my notes like I like to do. I take notes on my phone. This is one book I did not write in or highlight in at all. So we're just gonna go ahead and get started. We have several characters, but not as many as Danielle Steele likes to throw into her books these days. It was a pretty simple character list to follow. So the book is about Gillian Forrester, and I'm hoping I'm gonna try to not give too much information. So the main character is Gillian, and then you've got Samantha, who's her daughter, who they call Sam, who's a bit of a a tomboy. She wants to be a cowboy. She wants to lasso horses and stuff like that. It's kind of like her daughter's thing. And then Jillian Forrester meets Chris Matthews. He is the equivalent to Kurt Cobain of Nirvana. And the reason I say that is when I was a teenager, I was reading this book, and when I got to when I got to a point when I was like really feeling emotional about Chris, Kurt Cobain committed suicide. So, and I picture Chris Matthews as that like hippie with that like blonde brownish hair, long, kind of like stringy, and just, you know, kind of cute, grungy a little bit. So I was all in my feels there for a while. Got a couple other characters too as the story kind of flows along, but they're spaced out enough to where you know who they are, what their purpose is, and you can follow through very easily. Okay, I'm reading this part of the book and I just kind of cringed a little bit, so I'm just going to share this quote. It says, "Maybe I'll tie the sitter to a chair and set the rope on fire. That's what Indians do. It's called being an Indian giver." Now, you know Danielle Steele would not write anything like that in her current books, but I'm just saying. I was like, oh, okay. So there's that. Also, right after she said the thing about the Indian giver, she also said that, she says, if you do that to the babysitter, I will give you a spanking. The spanking of your life or something like that, which is very, like, wow. Do we even see stuff like that in books now? I don't think so. It's very interesting to go back to some of these older school books, and then you're just like, wow, things have changed a whole lot. The book, my copy, is 274 pages, so that is not bad at all. And as you get into it, you just start to flow through everything. There's 40, how many chapters are there? There's 43 chapters. Okay, there we go. I love Danielle Steele back in the day. I still buy all her books, even though I'm a little bit disappointed with her writing style now compared to then. Back in the day, she was descriptive, she used a lot of words, and she wasn't repetitive. She's a bit repetitive now, and that bothers me, but in this book, she's not. So it's one of my favorite. Don't let this funky little, you know, like, Harlequin romance picture fool you. This is a really good book. She does use the word pleased a lot. I did notice that in this book, but I remembered it more towards the beginning. I don't think that she used it. It was like 1 or 2 chapters where it was just kind of like, ugh. She uses the ... I think that's like ellipses, or I don't know what it's called, but you know, when people write and they're like ... I do that a lot. I'm totally guilty of it, and it's probably because of Danielle Steele that I did that, but so that was my thoughts on the book. Now I'm gonna tell you a bit of the story, and I don't think it's too much of a spoiler alert. So Jillian Forrester gets together with Chris Matthews. They work at a job site together. They hook up. Their romance kind of flows pretty quickly. She gets pregnant, and he's basically like, it's me or the baby. If it's the baby, you're gonna leave California. So she was married to some guy in New York. She went to California. She met Chris. She got knocked up, and Chris is like, peace out, go back to New York. So she goes to New York. Then she meets Gordon Hart, who is somebody that she works with, and she kind of like has a thing with him. And I'm gonna leave it at that. So that's kind of how the story goes. It's like, fell in love, heartbreak, fall in love again, and the cycle just goes. So we're gonna leave it at that. If that sounds interesting to you, I hope you get the book. I am going to start to jump in to the chapters and what I thought. So what I do is at the end of each chapter, however I'm feeling, whether it's like me wanting to tell you what that chapter was about, and it's normally like 1 sentence long. If it's me wanting to tell you what the chapter is about, or if I just have like some feels, I just let those feels go. So I never really know what I'm gonna write. It's kind of weird. It's Dawn style. Whoop whoop, Dawn style. Okay. So at this point, I am going to be jumping into spoilers. So if you don't care about being spoiled, that's fine, stick around. If you do, then please leave because we don't want you here no more. So we're back. I'm gonna go through these chapters. Chapter 1, fun day at the office with the hippie rebel. Chapter 2, careful falling in love too quickly, it may not end well. Chapter 3, and the obsession over Chris begins, and she's sitting by the phone. Chapter 4, Chris is back, but holy punch to the heart. And I got a little heart emoji with a broken heart. Chapter 5, he's coming around and then bam, nothing. Chapter 6, marked safe from a sex orgy. That happened. Chapter 7, you deserve more than scraps of his time. Broken promises that you know deep down will happen. You didn't need a man to be fulfilled. Dang. Chapter 8, a lot more forgiving than I could be, but hey, also Sam's with her father for the summer. Chapter 9, they're having an oops baby. Chapter 10, abortion or leave the state, and there's the ultimatum. Chapter 11, she is letting a man run her, what a fool. Chapter 12, New York in style. Chapter 13, there's no place like home. Chapter 14, getting her New York life together, I am proud of her. Chapter 15, matchmaking, and I see a new love interest on the horizon. Chapter 16, living that spectacular New York life. Chapter 17, a new temporary job, and Chris is a complete dick asshole. I mean, he was. Chapter 18, the realities of the situation are real, but she's trying to ignore it. Blissful ignorance. Chapter 19, 2 men in New York and 1 in California. Chapter 20, there are still good men out there. Chapter 21, Gordon is a great guy and just what she needs. Smart, sensitive, and caring. Chapter 22, Gordon makes love to Jillian, and now we wait to see how she reacts. Chapter 23, Chris is coming back and he better not fuck up her thing with Gordon, the good guy. Chapter 24, she sleeps with Chris, and Sam tells Gordon about Uncle Chris. Busted. Chapter 25, Gordon is trying to give her space to figure it all out. Chris is a jackass, and Julie has cancer and it doesn't look good. Chapter 26, Christmas with Chris, and now life with Chris, with a whole bunch of question marks. Chapter 27, making mistakes and saying goodbyes. Chapter 28, when you have to remind yourself that you love someone, maybe it's not love, and saying goodbye to Gordon. Chapter 29, moldy lemons and flat club soda versus roses and champagne. Chapter 30, maybe Chris is really a changed man. Sweet man-child. Hey guys, so I'm sitting here and I'm reading Going Home. I'm getting towards the end of about 100 pages to the end of the book, and I'm reading it and I'm realizing that, like, when I was a teenager, I don't remember, like, I remember kind of like the parts of the book, but there are certain things that I feel that I will remember now that I probably had no clue about in the past. It's just weird to revisit a book like 25-ish years later and realize, like, oh wow. And I know I've got my reading light on, so the lighting in here is very weird, but yeah, I just wanted to come on here and say, like, there's some deep stuff in here. Some deep stuff. And I have a whole lot of, like, weird feelings about everything that's going on. But I should have a review up in a day or two. And I'm really kind of I'm really feeling it. I'm feeling this whole Danielle Steele thing. Although I found out today I have a ton of Danielle Steele books to read. But it's all good. Kind of feel bipolar reading this book because it's like, hello. Okay. Chapter 31. Marriage and Chris is not a bad guy. He just needed to grow up a little. Chapter 32. Chris dies while at work. I'm crying. I'm really crying. How can you go from hating somebody to loving somebody so much in a book? Oh my god. I loved Chris. And then, okay guys, so I'm going to be done with this book this evening. I'm at the very emotional part. And Greg is over here trying to sign into Apple TV and he's bothering me. And he's not letting me be in the moment right now. So I just wanted to like tell you guys this is where I'm at. Okay, I'm going to finish reading and then we'll get a book review up. And then we'll start another Danielle Steele book. At this point, I'm going away from my nose. At this point, this is like pretty much where Kurt Cobain committed suicide. And I was just no more good. Like I read the part where Chris had died and I was like coming home from school. And I'm like crying because of, you know, I'm all emotional because of what happened to Chris in the book. And then I come home and on MTV News, they're talking about Kurt Cobain committed suicide and I could not handle it. I could not handle it. Okay. Chapter 33, reality sets in. Chapter 34, making funeral arrangements. Chapter 35, Peg is a wonderful friend. And Peg was from New York, just saying. And she went out to California. Chapter 36, laughter can help. It doesn't fix things, but it helps. Chapter 37, wearing her wedding dress to the funeral. I'm gonna cry. Chapter 38, they buried Chris and Marilyn was there. Chapter 39, another horrible loss. The baby didn't make it. Oh god, I'm getting emotional just reading this shit. Chapter 40, Peg comes back for a visit and Jillian is finally coming to terms with all that has happened. Chapter 41, Peg and Tom get married. Chapter 42, going to see Gordon in Europe. Chapter 43, going home. So, that is my review of the book. It is this is my favorite book of all time, especially because I did the reread and I have the same exact emotions, probably a little bit more emotional than I did back in the day. And I'm just like, there's so many things that even my chapter notes don't touch on. You really, really should go get this book and read it. And please tell me what you think of it. I just can't say enough about this book. I'm gonna cry. Oh my god. I just love this book with my whole heart and soul and everything in me. And it's just so emotional. And it's my favorite book of all time. So, Danielle Steele. This is #1. Goodreads. Stars on this. Motherfucking 5,000. Okay? And I know it only goes to 5 stars. But motherfucking 5,000. That's how I feel. Okay. Oh god, my heart. Alright. I love this book. I love it. Please go get this book so you can read it with me, so you can like gush about everything with me, because I just want you to do that. I want y'all to feel it. Alright, I'm gonna go. But that's my review. This is the year of Danielle Steele. Let's do this thing. I mean, 2020, the year of Danielle Steele. I love it. I feel it. I'm just so in love.